ain't. Look, we know he's 58, whatever, right? You don't need Teddy Atlas to tell you that. But what that video does tell you, he's a different guy. Which you can expect at that, but he's a different guy. He's not that guy that he was.
Boxing trainer and Hall of Famer Teddy Atlas, ahead of Mike Tyson's fight against Jake Paul, has given an in-depth analysis of the fight. This is the first time in boxing history where we have a fight that isn't a 50-50 fight, yet the fighters have equal advantages.
One thing a guy that has power like that, or had power like that, that's the last thing to go. The reflexes will go south. The timing will go north.
The advantage of youthfulness and strength belongs to Paul, while Tyson has the advantage of experience and skill. It really can't get more mind-blowing than this. In a recent segment of The Fight with Teddy Atlas, the esteemed boxing coach and analyst shared his insights on the highly anticipated bout between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, set to unfold in a groundbreaking move on Netflix.
When you were an athlete at that level that Tyson was, you know, the reason he looked so...
The matchup announcement stirred significant debate, largely fueled by concerns surrounding Tyson's age and his extended hiatus from professional boxing since his defeat to Kevin McBride in 2005. Despite sporadic forays into exhibition bouts in 2006 and 2020, Tyson's prolonged absence from the ring has raised doubts about the wisdom of his return.
He doesn't appear to be that guy. And what is that? How does that manifest itself as far as a performance? I'll tell you one thing.
However, Atlas diverged from the prevailing sentiment, viewing the clash through a different lens. Contrary to popular belief, he suggested that it is Jake Paul who faces the greater risk in this encounter. In his assessment, Atlas emphasized the precarious position Paul finds himself in, irrespective of the outcome.
We understand all that. This is where I'm going to throw people a curveball. First of all, he's actually fighting a guy who finally, I know he's much older than him, but is naturally...
What do I make of it? Let's see. Let me think for a minute. You don't have to be a genius to figure this one out, that he's Tyson getting paid a lot of money. Atlas told Boxing King Media, "We don't know what's real yet until we find out. I don't know if it's real. I know that Jake Paul has worked very hard to learn boxing and has been very smart about doing it. He's very smart. You have to give him credit," Atlas continued.
Out of it with a hook. He still has power. The last thing to go, reflexes are going to go. Speed is going to be deteriorated. But power is the last thing to go.
"I think this is a very dangerous fight for Paul," he asserted. Atlas elaborated on his perspective, underscoring Tyson's resilience and commendable turnaround in life, thanks in part to his dedicated team. He emphasized that Tyson, despite his age, has less to lose in this scenario compared to Paul, who stands to face significant scrutiny regardless of the fight's outcome.
He still has that power. He still has those abilities that an average person will never have. Even at that age, it doesn't mean that he can use them in the arena.
"In my view, he's got a lot more to lose than Tyson," Atlas remarked, acknowledging Tyson's financial stability and the positive trajectory of his personal life. "Tyson, whatever they're paying him, he's been making good money. He's done a good job having the people around him. Where they've done a good job to get him on the track, they've gotten him on." On his podcast, Atlas, who worked with Tyson in the early stages of his career, says that even at 58 years old, Tyson will still carry his infamous power into the ring.
A guy who was one of the greatest punchers in heavyweight history, one of the greatest punchers ever with either hand, and one of the greatest combinations of speed.
"I'm going to throw people a curveball. He's finally fighting a guy who is naturally the bigger guy. Paul fights at cruiserweight at about 190, so Tyson is naturally the bigger guy." He added, "He's fighting a legendary, iconic fighter, a guy who's one of the greatest punchers in heavyweight history and one of the greatest combinations of speed and power. Yeah, he's 58 years old. Yes, the end of his career wasn't too good, but one of the last things to go as a fighter is his power."
With a fighter is his power.
Yep.
I think this is a very dangerous fight for Paul.
Interesting.
I think he might be making a mistake because...
Atlas went on to say that Paul may have made a mistake and the risk is greater than the reward. "I think this is a very dangerous fight for Paul. I think he might be making a mistake. Apart from money, and he's made plenty of money, there isn't much to win on his side, because if he wins, they say Tyson was 58 years old, and if he loses, they say you lost to a 58-year-old. For me, he's got a lot more to lose than Tyson.
Credit to Paul. Look, that guy's a genius. I mean, first of all, he didn't disrespect his sport. I hear people come up to me. I've been in a...
If there is no agreement, then Paul might be making a mistake. I think the risk might be greater than the reward, and I'm surprised that Paul is taking this risk. Power doesn't disappear when you're old. He's still got speed and combinations. If there's no agreement, then a dangerous, risky fight for Paul, especially early. Tyson will come flying out there. And I know, even at 58, or whatever age it is now, I know that the one thing that doesn't go away from a fighter, I know it better than anyone, because a man, a very special man named George Foreman at 45 years of age, beat my fighter, because the one thing that doesn't disappear is power.
I mean, boy, give him all the credit in the world that he respected the sport enough to go learn it, and he took his vision to boxing from the YouTube platform, and he took it to this, and he made it a reality.
Reflexes, they go away. Speed, it disintegrates a little bit and deteriorates a little bit. But power, no, it stays. Tyson still has power. You can see he's still got quickness. He's got those quick twitch muscles, where he's still got muscle memory. He was one of the great heavyweights, Atlas said. I would say this, if it's real, the first couple of rounds are going to be very dangerous for Jake Paul. The first couple of rounds with Tyson, the way that he would come out and do what the normally does, which is make you miss and create an opening. He still has the power to do real serious damage.
They weren't the greatest strikers, but you know what they were? They were physically strong and apt guys that were fighters mentally.
Boxing Hall of Famer and former coach of Mike Tyson, Teddy Atlas, further added to his thoughts on the matchup, saying, however, Teddy Atlas believes the age difference will play a huge factor on the outcome of the fight, but that Tyson could cause problems early on in their encounter.
He loses, they say he's 58 years old. You lost to a 58-year-old guy. For me, he's got a lot more to lose than Tyson.
The first couple minutes could be a little risky for Paul against a guy who was the youngest heavyweight champ and a guy with one of the greatest combinations of speed and power in the history of the heavyweight division, said Atlas when speaking to Seconds Out. For 1 or 2 rounds, could it be a little hairy? Yeah. If he doesn't catch him or he doesn't hurt him, then the gas tank starts to putter. If that happens, then the young man would have the advantage, even a young man who's far less accomplished in the game.
Been in that atmosphere, so I give him credit for that, and I give him credit for knowing how to make money.
Listen, Teddy, I could talk to you all day about boxing, but
Paul is coming off a 6th round knockout of Mike Perry in his last outing. He's 10-1 in his professional boxing career, but hasn't faced anyone that has the resume of Iron Mike. Tyson last fought in November 2020 when he faced Roy Jones Jr. in an exhibition bout. In a recent interview, Hall of Fame trainer Teddy Atlas has questioned the all-time great label that many observers place on former, undisputed heavyweight champion Mike Tyson.
I don't know if he was ever great. I know he was sensational. I know he was the greatest mix of maybe speed and power ever. I know he was one of the greatest punchers from either side of the plate, left or right.
Tyson, the youngest boxer to ever win a heavyweight championship, was the first heavyweight to hold the World Boxing Association, World Boxing Council, and International Boxing Federation titles simultaneously. While Atlas gives high praise to the skill set of Tyson, he's not convinced that Tyson was an overall great fighter. I don't know if he was ever great, Atlas said on the Lex Fridman podcast.
Maybe speed and power ever. I know he was one of the greatest punchers from either side of the plate, left or right. There's been great punchers with just the right hand like Ernie Shavers and Deontay Wilder and Max Baer.
I know he was sensational. I know he was the greatest mix of maybe speed and power ever. I know he was one of the greatest punchers from either side of the plate, left or right. There's been great punchers with just the right hand like Ernie Shavers and Deontay Wilder and Max Baer. I don't know if there's ever been anyone who could punch as good as Tyson did on either side with either hand other than Joe Louis and a few others. I don't know if there's ever been such a combination of speed and power to that pure level that he had, and it was a pure level. I don't know if there was ever as good a fighter as Tyson was. For maybe one night he was great. He wasn't tested, but he might have been ready to be tested that one night against Michael Spinks when he took him apart in 90 seconds. I think I saw a great fighter that night. I don't think you can be great unless you have all the requirements of being great.
I don't know if there's ever been anyone who could punch as good as he did other than Joe Louis. I don't think you can be great unless you have all the requirements of being great.
What does it take to be a great fighter, truly?
Atlas went further to explain what it takes to be regarded as an overall great fighter. To not rely on someone else's weakness to be strong on your own, Atlas said. Too often, Tyson relied on other people's weakness, whether it's by being intimidated or whether it was because his talent was so much greater than theirs that it was like putting a monster truck in there with a Volkswagen.
To not rely on someone else's weakness to be strong on your own. Too often he relied on other people's weakness by being intimidated because his talent was so much greater than theirs.
The Volkswagen was going to get crushed. No matter how much horsepower the Volkswagen might have had under the hood, it was going to get crushed. The monster truck was not going to allow it to be a contest. To be able to find a way when your talent wasn't enough, he didn't find a way when his talent wasn't enough. To further his viewpoint on the matter, Atlas cited Tyson's upset loss to Buster Douglas in 1990 and a pair of upset defeats to Evander Holyfield in 1996 and 1997.
As that it was like putting a monster truck in there with a Volkswagen, and the Volkswagen was going to get crushed. To be able to find a way when your talent wasn't enough. He didn't find a way.
A fight is not a fight until there's something to overcome, Atlas said. Until then, it's just an athletic exhibition contest. Yeah, who's a better athlete? Who's got more quick twitch fibers? Who's more developed in those physical areas? But a fight is not a fight until there's something to overcome. So if you go by my definition, not Webster's, pretend it means something. Mike Tyson was only in 5-6 fights in his life. The fights where there was something to overcome, he didn't overcome it. Teddy Atlas's and Mike Tyson's lives intersected in a fortuitous and explosive manner. If you know the lore, Atlas was Tyson's trainer prior to Kevin Rooney, all under the supervision of the great boxing guru Cus D'Amato.
Going through your mind when you pull a gun on Mike Tyson, that's a scary thing to do.
You know what's scarier? Having an 11-year-old girl who had been...
In his younger days, Atlas assisted legendary trainer Cus D'Amato in developing the skills of a teenage Tyson. Atlas was removed from the camp in 1982, following an altercation with a 15-year-old Tyson. Atlas claimed Tyson had been sexually inappropriate with an 11-year-old female relative of Atlas, which led to an incident where Atlas put a handgun to Tyson's ear and threatened to kill him. However, when Atlas learned that Tyson had touched the butt of his 10-year-old nephew, Atlas felt he had to take matters into his own hands.
Approached by him, and told by him what he was going to do to her, and knowing that the next time he might rape her. Well, he probably will. I know that's tough for me, but hey.
So Atlas put a gun to Tyson's head and said that he better not do that again. From there, Cus quite reasonably exiled Atlas from his boxing organization, and that is where Atlas and Tyson parted ways. I got out of the car and Teddy was waiting for me outside. He looked angry. "Mike, come here. I want to talk to you," he said. I went over to him and he pulled out a gun and held it to my head.
Approached by him, and told by him what he was going to do to her, and knowing that the next time he might rape her. Well, he probably will. I know that's tough for me, but hey.
Idiot! Don't you ever touch my sister-in-law. He shot the gun into the air right next to my ear. Tyson goes on to explain that it was not the first time he had a gun put to his head, having been raised in the streets of Brooklyn. Meanwhile, Atlas expressed on the Lex Fridman podcast recently that he felt betrayed by Cus's siding with Tyson following this ugly altercation. Though Atlas understood Cus's decision from a pragmatic perspective, it was him or the future heavyweight champ.
Back the trigger.
Teddy did do that, but it wasn't necessarily because I flirted with his niece or touched her butt or something. But you think that he would at least come to my face and say that he's the top?
The experience falling out with both Tyson and Cus seems to have been traumatic for Atlas. The break was permanent, but Tyson famously apologized to Atlas decades later while Atlas was commentating on a fight. Tyson took the initiative to apologize, and he insists in his autobiography that it was sincere.
Well, I'm 15 years old, and this guy, how old he is, 26, he pulls a gun and he didn't even shoot me. So that tells you how tough he is. He pulled a gun on me and didn't even shoot me.
However, Atlas doesn't wholly accept Tyson's apology, and that has people wondering whether the boxing pundit might be a little petty. Atlas seems to doubt Tyson's sincerity. He said as much on the Lex Fridman podcast. If he really did it for himself, he really felt that it was true. I know I'm taking it too deep, but what am I going to do? He was in the middle of 12 steps with drugs, alcohol, 12 steps, which is a commendable thing. Part of the steps is to apologize to people you've offended in life. Okay, but are you doing it for the 12 steps, or are you doing it because you've really truly come to terms with believing that what you did was that hurtful to me?
It's become a pretty big casino. I was there when it just started with ESPN. We did a lot of shows there, Friday Night Fights, a lot. And it was the Turning Stone Casino.
Although Tyson did make the apology in the context of an AA program, he explicitly calls his apology sincere in his autobiography. Furthermore, in Undisputed Truth, Tyson says of Atlas, "He taught me how to fight. He was right there from the beginning." It doesn't seem fair that a recovering addict's apology is not accepted by virtue of the fact that the person is a recovering addict.
And I'm like, you know, you could do a talk back. So you can hit the talk back, but I can't do the talk back because I'm talking.
When a man humbles himself like that, admits his weakness with drugs and addiction, admits he was wrong, it seems like a decent thing to accept the apology. If they could bury the hatchet, one would even like to see Tyson and Atlas do a podcast together. Instead, Atlas seems to be holding on to this grudge that he has against his former mentee. Hopefully, he will think better of that mindset.
Daddy, I don't want to distract you, nothing, but I just want to tell you, Mike Tyson's behind you.
But that aside, what do you really expect when you imagine Mike Tyson fighting inside the squared circle? It's his devastating power and aggression, all flowing amidst his flurry of punches, irrespective of his age or how many years he has been away from the ring. That's the same reason Tim Bradley Jr. banks his faith in him to rack up a knockout win when the American legend goes up against Jake Paul.
Broadcast, you know, now I know now he's given me more information. Teddy, he wants to talk to you. He wants to,
Tyson, 58, will stand across from Paul, 27, in a highly anticipated but lopsided match on November 15th at the Atant Stadium in Arlington. Ever since the fight's announcement, it has sharply divided the fans. Many pointed out his declining age and weakened reflexes as reasons not to step inside the ring against a 30-year younger opponent. Iron Mike's flight incident and an ulcer flare-up had already given fans a lot to worry about. But Bradley Jr., 40, believes Tyson can take home another win in a fashion similar to his heydays. How's that happening? Bradley Jr., in a conversation with ProBox TV, laid down that a 2-minute round would allow the former heavyweight champion to come out all guns blazing. Tyson at 56 could have Paul at 10, 1 at the ropes, landing body shots and bamboozling him with his power.
Hasn't beat a real fighter, bro. And I say that he lost to freaking Tommy Fury, for Christ's sakes, and Tommy Fury ain't even good.
Speaking on ProBox TV, an animated Tim Bradley backed Iron Mike. The two-weight champion turned analyst said the softer rules favor the veteran and is convinced a knockout could be on the cards. Mike Tyson, knock his ass out, baby. At first I thought about it, I was like, this is kind of crazy, but then I saw the rules. It said knockouts, knockdowns, it's official, it can happen. 2 minutes, that's going to favor Mike Tyson. 2 minutes instead of 3, no doubt about it. Think about it, a 2-minute drill. He comes out in the first 4 rounds like he's always blazing. Mike Tyson, getting him against the ropes, banging him to the body, hitting him with power shots. Come on, man. He has the potential to knock this man out. You know that power is the last thing that leaves you? He said, Mike Tyson has the potential to knock this man out. You know that power is the last thing that leaves you.
Ain't even good. Tommy Fury is average, bro. And he lost to him. I can't believe this, man.
This is Mike Tyson we're talking about. 2 minutes. That's all it takes. He can get the knockout. Knock Disney Boy the hell out. Desert Storm added. While most have Tyson winning the bout on their cards, there are also concerns about him suffering a knockout defeat. The former champion is a mere shadow of his former self. And when you factor in his sciatica, hip surgery, and ability to sustain stamina for a professional fight, you also start having doubts. UFC star Michael Chandler also feels the same.
If, man, somebody asked me, can Jake Paul win a world championship? And I said, yeah. He can win a business.
Yes, he can.
You want to know why? You want to know? Yeah, because he'll get the opportunity. He'll be able to orchestrate how far he goes in the sport, and get every...
What if Bradley Jr.'s prediction were to be reversed? Chandler, 38, shed focus on Problem Child's last fight with Mike Perry, where he outweighed the latter by 20 pounds and had a height advantage of close to 4 inches. He told Lucky Block, "Now it's Mike Tyson, who is 30 years older. Mike Tyson's about 60, and Jake's about 30. I love Mike Tyson. Nobody wants to see Mike Tyson get knocked out, but everybody wants to see Mike Tyson catch Jake Paul and knock him out." And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.